Hey, this is Keith St. John from Montrose, Kingdom Come and Lynch Mob, and you are watching CMS TV.
It is Chris Akin Presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin. And today on the show, we are going to be celebrating one of the bands that I think is criminally not celebrated enough. They certainly have this event every year, but for the life of me, I'll never understand why this band has not become the classic metal staple with the Van Halens of the world and bands like that are played every 30 minutes on your favorite classic rock station. The band, of course, I'm talking about is Montrose. They have the 10th anniversary of the Ronnie Montrose Remembered event over there by NAMM. That will be on January the 24th at the Grand Theater in the Anaheim Event Center. And here to talk all about it is the guy that has kept the Ronnie Montrose name alive, as well as keeping rock alive, I think, in some avenues. He is the great Keith St. John. Keith, how are you, sir?
Oh my gosh, what an intro. Yeah, I agree. These guys all the fans feel the same way, the super fans. They have no idea. But obviously, for those who do know about Montrose, there were some just creative differences and stuff. And,
Sure.
the typical thing, the singer and the guitar player didn't work out. Usually in other situations, when you have hits and you have this career, they'll work out their differences and stuff, even if they're away from each other for an album. But in Ronnie and Sammy's case, they never got back together and took it up where they left off. And
Sure.
Ronnie blatantly just steered away from that sound after that.
Right.
After he was done with Sammy, he wanted to just change the whole sound and, make it all new and different. And whether or not that was a great business move, that was what his heart told him to do. And the guy still had a great career. But but we all love, and you people listening, if you are Montrose fans, we love those first two records, man. They're really kick ass. And
Sure.
I'd have to agree that if they were to have kept with that sound and developed it and moved on, they would be right up there with all those big bands,
Sure.
with Van Halens and the Zeppelins and, all that.
I agree, man. And I'll tell you, Keith, I've always thought this, maybe you don't agree, and this is not to be taken in any way, shape, or form as a slap at Sammy, but I think it's just a truth. The fact that Sammy left Montrose and went right into his solo career, but kept performing those Montrose songs, I think that is one of the biggest reasons. I think the fan base there's a lot of people, if you say the song Rock Candy, they think it's a Sammy Hagar song, not a Montrose song, and I think it's because there was no break, even like a David Lee Roth. When Roth left Van Halen, he left and did something that was his, with the
Right.
Just a Gigolo and the Yankee Rose, and, that he had his own thing. He was still doing some Van Halen, but he was really pushing his new thing.
Absolutely.
Sammy, I think, just kind of kept it, and as time went on, it became his a little bit more as far as, peripheral fans, not the hardcores, but the casual radio rock listeners.
Well, I would say that, Ronnie specifically shied away from playing any of those, let's call them the old hits,
Sure.
from those records. Basically until I was working with him in 99. And
Okay.
then the right business opportunity came along the road. And he had mellowed out from the old days and whatever, Ronnie. And it was time for him to give in and say yes. Basically, Scott Barea, Steve Miller's manager, who was an acquaintance and also a big fan, he said, "Hey, Ronnie, if you can put another official Montrose band together now and play all the hits and some of what you're doing now, I'll help you put your career back together, this and that, And around 99, 2000, the retro bands, as it were, 70s and 80s bands, that was sort of the beginning of a movement for all those bands to come back and start working. All those bands who kind of couldn't get freaking laid during the grunge era,
Right.
I mean, like Motley was playing to a crowd of 400 people in like 93 or something at in our home, in LA,
Right.
in Hollywood. um, you know, so they couldn't sell a bagel. So that stuff was out for a while, and it was the right timing for the sort of onset of the older, more classic bands. And I happened to be working with Ronnie at the time, just as two songwriters writing together, and he showed me like what his history was this past career, because I really didn't know. It's not like when I was introduced, I was like, oh, this is the Ronnie Montrose. I came from the East Coast when I came out to LA, and I knew of the band name Montrose. It was in all the head shop posters and in the the records, were in the record stores, and I had seen it, but I hadn't really known that material. So it was all a big pleasant surprise to me, because I was a big fan of that stuff, Free and Zeppelin and the Who, and kind of what that stuff all had sort of sounded like and evolved out of. So I was like, man, this stuff kicks ass. Yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it.
Right on.
And but that perception that you were talking about, that more shifted over to Sam, because Sam was the only one that was throwing a couple of those songs once in a while into his sets, and he even had some times when he, I think, wanted nothing to do with it as well, because the ending wasn't amicable, let's say.
Right.
So
and it always seems like that, man. It seems like once moods mellow, it's when the breakups happen, nobody wants to say anything about anybody. But then when moods mellow after a while, and your friend's friend hears that song, it's like, hey, wasn't that you on that song or what? Then people are like, maybe I will take that music back. It's
or there's the right cash on the table, right?
That too. That's
definitely. I don't hate him. I never hated him.
Yeah. Hey. You're probably a lot closer than I am with my pie in the sky world of, I just heard it and I love it again. It's probably more about money. I hear you. Well, man, let's talk about your involvement in this. And I want to talk about this. This is obviously a milestone year for you, 10th anniversary of the Memorial Show, which is a huge accomplishment just to keep it going, and knowing how many people are involved, from all walks of life, which is surprising to me. There's Guns N' Roses guys, there's people from Lady Gaga's band that show up for this.
True.
All over, the musical spectrum, they come for this. Let's start with when you first had the idea of putting this together. Did you ever in your wildest dreams think that this would become an annual thing versus a one-off that might be fun or might be good or might make money?
Hey, you. Why are you watching this with commercials? Go commercial-free and unlock exclusive content. Become a VIP today on Locals, Substack, or Rumble Premium. Stop waiting.
Well, you almost answered the question, because, for me, I thought it was going to be a one-off, of course. And, I had no idea. I definitely didn't think we'd be sitting here 10 years later and doing this. But it's become an event within itself that I think it's just so unique. First of all, it's Montrose. There's a lot of people out there trying to pay tribute to Zeppelin or the Stones or, U2 or whatever have you. Tribute bands have become this giant thing. But Montrose, has held sort of a cult following since the 70s. And some of these people that come to this show, they saw Sam and Ronnie live when they were doing it back in the early to mid 70s.
Right.
And when Ronnie and I, and sort of an evolving, changing rhythm section, when we put this thing together to be Montrose again, came out with that from about 2000, beginning of 2000 until Ronnie passed, which was in 2012. Those people and more people were very accepting of the new Montrose and what we were doing, and just wanted more and more and more. And, that their kind of fanship is what's held this event together, because it's really the only place they can come and see this music played all night long
Right.
in the way that they remember it being played. I mean, it can take them right back to either when they saw us doing it or back to the 70s when they saw those guys playing some of these songs. And I think for that reason, those reasons I mentioned, there's really nowhere else to go to get that same energy that we bring into the room, you know? And the guitar players that come are mighty enough and accomplished enough. And also because it's Ronnie, they want to get it right. You know, they really want to. I just got off the phone with Reb Beach and he's like, man, you know, I'm not going to tell you what song he's doing, but he's like, I had to go back, and they make some algorithms now. You know, you can do all this fancy stuff with your computers. So he could slow the lead down and figure out exactly what Ronnie was doing in some of these sections. Cause he's like, he told me, he goes, I'm never going to be able to play that lead. And then he said, now he goes, I've got it, man. I got it. And I'm ready to go.
That's awesome.
And that kind of a thing happens with guitar players who grew up on Ronnie and are coming in to play the material. It's like guys coming in to play a Jeff Beck song. I mean, they want to play it note for note and really sound authentic. And Ronnie was such a tone guy and that's part of the battle too. You know, to try to get there and wrestle with the tone and get it into shape. But I got to say, man, over the years, I am super, super surprised and just delighted that how much effort people put into making this sound right. And like I said, I mean, a lot of them will say, yeah, I was 15, 16 years old and this was my rock and roll Bible and I had the record and, you know, these were some of the first songs they learned on guitar.
Sure.
So,
are you ever surprised when somebody approaches you, or have you been surprised when somebody has approached you, and doesn't even have to be a guitar player, it could be a vocalist, could be any instrument.
I don't know about a vocalist, but no, okay.
Well, you know what what I mean is, were you ever surprised that they are fans because what they do is so different?
Oh yeah, sure.
You know, who can you give me an example of somebody that
let's talk about this year. So this year, one of the guys is coming down is on the heavier side of music.
Okay.
He's been in Slayer, Lamb of God. He started that band Violence, and that band Machine Head.
Okay.
It's Phil Demmel.
Phil Demmel, right. Sure.
Phil Demmel's a monster on guitar, but he loves that old vintage Montrose stuff. He's just, when he plays it, he's just going for complete authenticity. He's not trying to metal it out or anything like that. And he actually asked me if he could play a Gamma tune this year, which is Ronnie's band after Montrose.
Right.
And he's one of the few guys that can do it. Usually a guy that plays that tune has to be like either like a Mark Bonilla, you know, from Keith Emerson's band, and who actually played in Gamma, and or a Brad Gillis or somebody of that nature who's got a real penchant for like the more progressive and really detailed bluesy meets progressive and just more musical, more difficult musical stuff. But Phil like jumped on doing this song, man. And I'm like, that is an example of someone who comes from a totally different genre and gets into the vibe and also really does it authentically.
That's
awesome. So that was a big surprise. For sure.
Now, from what I read, Keith, I was reading, and you kind of mentioned it here, that the show this year is going to touch on other aspects of Ronnie's career, not just Montrose.
Yes,
it's going to hit some Edgar Winter stuff and some Gamma stuff, and I think I read Van Morrison. I don't remember him being in Van Morrison, but
that's true. Well, he was.
I'll take your word for it, but I don't remember that.
Ronnie's first band that he had when he moved from Denver when he was younger, up to the Bay Area in San Francisco. He used to work for Bill Graham, and this didn't really come out in the old days, but I mean, Ronnie also did some carpentry work, so he would help Bill around the club doing this and that, right? So Bill really liked him, but Bill and another cat whose name I can't think of right now, I don't know why, managed Ronnie's first band, which was called Sawbuck,
Okay.
which had Bill Church, the original bass player from
the Electric
Montrose,
Church,
was in
yeah.
Sawbuck. Okay, so and they would have their band Sawbuck used to open for some of the big national acts.
Okay.
And one day, Bill called up Ronnie like he would, and he said, "Hey man, you want to play with Van Morrison?" And Ronnie didn't put two and two together. He just thought, it was another band coming through town that they were going to open for. And he was like, "Yeah, sure. I'm definitely down." And he's like, No. Do you want to play with Van Morrison? And he's like, "Oh yeah." So he got the audition for Van, and he got into the band. And the record they were making is called Tupelo Honey.
Okay.
And that got known as Van's rock album because it had Ronnie Montrose on guitar playing it. And so we do a couple songs from Tupelo Honey to start the night off, really.
Okay.
After Ronnie's best friend plays a couple of songs that they wrote, he comes up with a little combo, and he just does one or two songs. Guy by the name of CJ Hutchins, and they were writing partners and really good friends for many, many years, Ronnie and CJ. So then we go into some Van Morrison, and then we got to get into some Edgar Winter, because that was the next major thing that people know about that Ronnie did. And we do a couple songs from They Only Come Out at Night. They did Frankenstein and Free Ride, and those songs are on that record. And pretty shortly after that, we get into Montrose 1.
Okay.
And then throughout the night, we do some Gamma. I think this year we're a little bit more limited. I think we're doing 2 Gamma songs throughout the night, but they're good ones.
That's awesome.
So that's basically it. And then there was a singer after Sam when the band was still called Montrose, named Bob James.
Okay.
And I believe that next record was called Warner Brothers Presents. And I like to honor Bob James by doing a song off that record. And it's a song that Ronnie used to like to have us play live.
Sure.
We would play that song a lot, and it's just kind of a cool boogie song by Eddie Cochran. So yeah, there's a bit of a
wide
variety
spectrum, yeah,
coming at you. Yeah.
Nice. Where's the pressure point for you? Is it the organization of the event, which I imagine is just mind-boggling? Have a list of names. Okay, the here to here to here. Can you play this? Can you play that? Or is the pressure for you the vocal thing, because everybody is going to judge you against a living legend like Sam?
Well, I mean, I sing a little differently than Sam, although my voice kind of breaks up, I guess, in the same right places that, Ronnie accepted it in 30 seconds when I tried singing the songs with him. He's like, "This sounds great." And
sure.
And the fans were not only ready for a new Montrose, but we, no offense to anybody, but just as a reaction I got the first time we played at a large outdoor arena, we ended the first song, and a couple dozen people in the audience at the same time went, "Sammy who?" And I was like, all right. I was all smiles then. They're just fun. And I mean, sure. I'm a big fan of Sam's and stuff, and he's got a crazy, impeccable voice. And I liked it when it was rough, a little rougher back in the Montrose days.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of when Paul Rogers was in Free, and he let his voice just kind of crack a little bit and here and there, and but in a cool way. And
right.
it was more gritty. It was like a guy who just woke up after a night of whiskey drinking and just started singing. And I really appreciated everything Sam did on that record. But yeah, I don't think, over the years, I haven't really heard any comments like that. I haven't really heard people saying, well, you're this, but Sammy's that, or
right.
vice versa, or, hey man, management never said to me, on this song, you're not quite nailing those notes or something. No, it's always been, holy fuck, dude. Right. Holy fucking oh, sorry.
It's fine. It's all
holy effing shit. It's like, this is, this is unbelievable. And so to see people just that happy that they're hearing this music that they loved for so long, and we were kind of bringing it back. That's some of what's still at these events, and that's what's kept it going. What's kept it going is just, Tracy Gunn started doing this, and I was in an interview with him once, and he goes, there's 3 parts to my entire style of playing. There's 3 songs that shape the whole thing.
Okay.
And he goes, Rock Candy is 1/3 of my entire playing style. And then one of them was that Beatles remake by Jeff Beck, and then some other song. But I was like, some of these guys, they really, really take this music to heart when they get on stage because of what it meant to them. So, it's kind of like, and then you combine them with these other cool musicians, and a lot of them know each other because they've been on festival jams together before. But you get these kind of kids in a candy store, unleashed on stuff they don't get to play anywhere else.
Sure.
It's not like, there was a point when, you jump on a stage to jam with a rock band as a special guest, and you're like, oh my God, please don't play You Really Got Me or Rock and Roll by Zeppelin. Like, if I have to sing one of those one more time, somebody get me a doctor, give me a drink. But so it's not like they're not coming up to play the same old shit, but they know it because they learned it when they were younger. And I think that's one of the keys to keep this thing going. So.
Sure.
Your daily metal fix is on Rumble. Watch the Classic Metal Show episodes free or go commercial free with a premium subscription. Find your Classic Metal Show now at rumble.com/c/CMS, rumble.com/c/CMS.
Slightly different topic, but on the same plane, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that how you are as a singer? Because you are the chameleon's chameleon. I mean, when you look at the bands you've been in that people know, Lynch Mob, Neil Schon, LA Guns, Quiet Riot, I can list them, but you know them, obviously. You have a unique ability to really channel stuff without mimicking it. And I don't know if I'm even saying that right. I hope you understand that. There are like we were saying before, there's tribute guys that can mimic it. You kind of bring in what the original had, but you always have sort of your own flavor. Is there singers or bands or songs that you channel like Tracy did that have built your voice?
Man, that's a multi-question. But what you said initially there as a great, great compliment was almost verbatim what Ronnie said to me after we first started touring. And, maybe right in the beginning, after a couple of weeks, he said, Keith, I love what you're doing. You pay respect to what these songs were when we wrote them, and you know where and when a certain energy or vibe in your voice needs to be interjected. He says, but you sing it all your own way. But in the end, you somehow channeled, as you said, what we were doing back then. And at the important moments, you've got an energy to you that's bringing those things across. I think for me, I always consider myself kind of a really empathetic person, very sensitive to the universe around me and the people in the room and the music and etc. And so maybe I look at things a little differently when I'm preparing to sing live or whatnot. Rather than just learning the notes and how it goes and going over the exact inflections in this and that, I'm really more picturing, as I'm hearing the music and I'm going through it, I'm picturing how my own energy is going to be with it.
Sure.
And it's a different type of thing. I talked to, a few years back, I talked to Glenn Hughes, and he has of all the singers I've talked to in depth about things, he has a very similar feeling about what singing on stage is all about.
Right.
And, if you go and start talking to Glenn about, well, do you like to drink this on stage or that, or, do this as a warm up or this, Glenn's going to say the same thing. It's really all just energy. It's all just a vibe. And, there've been situations I've been in where I'm not feeling it. And I look back at the video and I go, yeah, I never should do that kind of stuff again. It's just,
right.
For some reason, it just doesn't resonate with me. The bands you've mentioned, Montrose being one of them, it's like I can just sing my way and do things my way, and it just works.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I listen to the material and I hear this energy that was coming out of the band and coming out of the singer at the time. And I may not have the exact same voice, but there's something about the energy that just, since I've listened to it and now I'm living it on stage, I just feel that same energy point, and that same thing comes out in my way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and that worked in Lynch Mob. Cause I had there was a lot of stuff I had in my past, like, in my early years, where I was doing very similar chops to what was on that first Lynch Mob record. What was I going to say about that? Oh, by the way, Glenn Hughes was in the studio when they were making that record,
nice.
helping out, ghosting some of the lines. I think it's been enough years I can say that.
Ghosting. I won't tell. I promise.
He was hired to ghost some of those blues licks and stuff, and right. It just, so I kind of had those licks in my back pocket, in my bag of tricks. And George said to me a couple times, he's like, "You sound more like Oni than Oni." So when we were playing, I'm like, "Thank you, man." I mean, I wasn't really going for the imitation, but I think it's just something about our voices have enough of a similar characteristic. And same thing with Kingdom Come. I was kind of a Zepp head to begin with, and Lenny Wolf's voice, once again, just kind of what he did lent itself to kind of what I was already doing. I think I made that stuff more grittier. I made it more like Plant, so it was more broken up,
Sure.
And the oohs were, they had a lot of gurgle in them, kind of like Robert Plant did,
Right.
And,
sure.
But for those three bands, for sure, I just kind of did my thing, and I was offered some gigs, and I had some gigs for short periods of time that I didn't really want to stay in, because it wasn't where I could just do my thing and it would work. I could hit the notes, I could imitate the sort of persona, but that's not really what I want to do to begin with.
You want to have a vibe, more of a vibe than the presentation. Yes. Yeah,
exactly. And if, I mean, I'm coming from a place being mostly a songwriter and a creative guy. So for me to have joined other people's bands was interesting to me at first, but it was a great ride. I mean, doing those things, I had lots of fun and enjoyed it, and played with some of the most phenomenal musicians that have ever lived. So,
amen.
I'm glad to have done all that.
Right on.
So, but I'm still writing. Now we've got AI, and I've got to compete with AI, which not so much in the writing area, but for just people who are looking for someone to write something for them, they can kind of just go, well, I want something that sounds like the album that it would have been the next Foreigner album. Can you write it for me and perform it? And AI can do it, So it's like,
it's crazy.
It's an interesting world we're in now.
It is, man. Well, you mentioned that you've played with some of the most heralded players of all time, and you will be again here next week, January 24th, 7:30 p.m. at the Grand Theater, Anaheim Event Center. Keith, where's the best place for us to send people to get tickets so that if they're in the area, they can be at this show?
The easiest two things to remember are RonnieMontroseRemembered.com. It's a website, RonnieMontroseRemembered.com. Go to the website. If you can remember me, Keith St. John, KeithStJohn, and just look me up on Instagram. That link tree will also take you to information and ticket buying page if you want to buy tickets. And you can see most of the players who are already signed up. There's still some more to be added, but on my Instagram page is the most complete thing right now.
Very good.
So that's Instagram.com/Keith St. John for all of you techies out there.
Very good. Well, one more time, it is Ronnie Montrose Remembered, January 24th, Grand Theater, Anaheim Event Center. And Keith, this has been fun, man. Thanks for joining me here on Chris
It's been great, man. Can I do a little plug on the bands that people are coming from? We got members of Guns N' Roses. We got a few members of Whitesnake. We've got Billy Sheehan. It's his first time, of course, from David Lee Roth and Talus and Mr. Big. We've got members of Y&T. We got members of Great White. We've got members of Megadeth, David Ellefson from Megadeth. We've got members of Edgar Winter. A lot of guys who've been with Montrose, who played with Montrose over the years. We've got Sean McNabb. We've got Blas Elias from Slaughter and the man behind the machine and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. REO, Winger. Did I say Night Ranger? And many, many more.
And the band you forgot, of course, The Great Burning Rain.
Yes, well, in fact, there's going to be the two main lineups of Burning Rain are actually going to be complete at the show this year. Matt Starr will be there from the Ace Frehley Band, and Sean McNabb, of course, and also Blas Elias and Brad Lang.
Nice.
Brad from Y&T. They were also the last rhythm section we did on the last record. So I'm going to try to pair those pairs up together for at least a song each.
There we go.
That should be fun with of course, the amazing Doug Aldrich.
Of course. Well, it's going to be a great night, man. I wish I lived out there because I would definitely be there. It's Ronnie Montrose Remembered, January 24th at the Grand Theater, Anaheim Event Center. And Keith, this has been great. Thanks for joining me here on Chris Akin Presents.
Thank you so much, brother.
This episode of the CMS Network is brought to you by our sponsor, Blackout Coffee. If you are a coffee lover, you will love when they are selling over at Blackout Coffee. Make sure you get yourself some. The only thing woke about this company is the drinker of the coffee because it gives you quite a jolt. I am a personal fan of the Brutal Awakening Dark Roast, but everybody's a little bit different. Make sure you get what is your favorite today. Go to blackoutcoffee.com. Use the promo code CHRIA20 to save 20% on your first order. It's that simple. So one more time, blackoutcoffee.com. That is the link, or use the full link if you're going to shop around that is scrolling on the bottom, and get yourself some of the best coffee that is out there today. blackoutcoffee.com.